If you have kids in your life, make plans to bring them to the Northwest Children's Theater production of The Wizard of Oz, opening the weekend after Thanksgiving. With a shortened runtime, this youth edition version of the timeless musical is the perfect way to introduce young theatergoers to the world of Dorothy, the Tin Man, and all your favorite characters. Make magical memories at the theater this season. The Wizard of Oz runs November 29th through January 4th at the Judy in downtown Portland. Get your tickets at nwcts.org. That's nwcts.org. Are you looking for ways to lower your energy bill this winter? Because I know I am. PGE has this customer dashboard that makes it easy to see how you're using energy, and it gives you helpful insight into your daily habits. Just log into your PGE account and use the Home Energy Analysis tool to update your home profile. In minutes, you'll get personalized tips on how to make these energy-saving adjustments. Check it out at portlandgeneral.com/myuse. That's portlandgeneral.com/myuse. When you're getting married, you don't have time to also manage an event team. At Simply Eloped, your dedicated planner takes care of every detail, so you don't have to. They've helped over 14,000 couples say I do across 37 epic US locations with all-inclusive packages and 700 plus incredible vendors. From snowy mountaintops to sandy beaches at sunset, make it your kind of wedding. Start your big day at simplyeloped.com. That's simplyeloped.com. You might have heard that the Portland Art Museum's new Rothko Pavilion is opening November 20th. Now, this is big news because it means the entire museum's collection will metaphorically be under one roof for the first time since it opened its doors at its current location back in 1932. The pavilion, in a way, also physically represents the last 20 years or so of Brian Ferrizzo's vision and direction as the museum's executive director. It's unifying the institution, centering community experience, and creating a more inclusive and accessible space, making it that more bittersweet that 8 days after its opening, Brian leaves his post at PAM to lead the Dallas Museum of Art. So today on CityCast Portland, Brian Ferrizzo is sitting with us and sharing everything we need to know about the Rothko Pavilion opening, as well as giving us an exit-style interview of his time leading the largest art institution in the state. It's Monday, November 17th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. Well, we all know downtown needs all the help it can get, but I've been seeing a lot of positive signs for its future, from property management companies soliciting ideas on how to fill empty buildings, which is something we've been working on, to the new James Beard Market. How do you see this project fitting into our downtown's renaissance, which is what I'm calling it, is the downtown renaissance?
Yeah. I mean, I would say there's no doubt about it. It's part of it, but I would also say it's sort of the largest leading element in the renaissance. And what I mean by that, you're talking over $100 million invested, which is jobs and people and art and new art. We have over 300 works of new art, but also when you're talking about that level of investment for education and culture, it's really a pretty high bar and pretty exciting. So it's really something that I think the city can build off of and others can build off of. The impacts will be significant for years to come.
Bold claim, Brian.
Bold claim.
Bold claim. I think I moved to Portland around the same time you started your tenure, like back in 2006.
That's right.
So I don't really know how the museum was running before you got there, but I feel like throughout the years, the exhibits, the programming in general has become way more inclusive and just tapped into the community's actual interests. For example, like when Pam teamed up with Doug, the Deep Underground Collective, to co-curate the Sun Ra exhibit a handful of years ago, Monuments.
Yes.
For me, that was definitely a turning point in your curation and your exhibits, because I remember that line was around the block to get in, and I had never seen that, not to mention the expansion of your Native American collection, like making it modern. Do you feel like the museum will continue moving towards that direction that you started as you move on from your role?
Sure. Well, Claudia, thank you for the way you described it, because I think I couldn't ask for a better description of what I wanted to accomplish in my tenure here. And I think you described it beautifully. So thank you. And what I've always been thinking about is how do we create an expanded view of what a museum can and should be, and not ignore our past, but expand the offerings and really become something embraced by the community. I do think the museum will continue on that trajectory. We've built a team here that it's sort of embedded in the DNA to be an institution that listens and really thinks deeply about what does community mean. So I think that will continue. The board very much embraces that vision. I know I've been involved a little bit with sort of shaping, the job description for my replacement. So that's embedded in it. So I think it's going to continue.
Nice. So where else would you like the museum to go in terms of vision and scope after your departure? I know that you said you shaped the job description, but are you leaving some little Post-it notes maybe?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the PAMCUT program, which is formerly known as our Film and New Media Program, Northwest Film Center, I think really creating sustainability around that. We have an East Side location, as you know, on Division Street. It's called the Tomorrow Theater. And I think it's been a very, very important initiative for us. And I really want to create long-term sustainability around that. One of the things that I was going through with the board and the staff, things that I haven't been able to accomplish, which I think will be important too in the future. Part of our history is the Gilkey Center for Prints and Drawings. Gordon Gilkey was a legendary figure here in the community in Oregon. He was actually one of the monuments men back in the post-World War II era, where he really made a huge imprint on this community. And we have a center named in his honor. And it's a place where audiences come, students come, school children can come and interact with prints and drawings. Through the years, we haven't been able to fund it at the level we've hoped. So I think one of the goals moving forward is to get the Gilkey Center back up and running and make it a 21st century center, which it can and should be. I think the other thing that needs to be done is, we have a learning department, formerly known as education department. And it's really needs much more investment. It's probably half the size it needs to be for a museum of our size, a community our size. And I think there just needs to be more resources in that area going towards our learning department.
Right. Well, now that you're leaving, I'm hoping that you can just be a little more candid. Like this is a between you and me and everyone listening to this podcast. How mad were people when the Northwest Film Center turned into PAMCUT, which is the Portland Center for an Untold Tomorrow? That title alone, I'm wondering what the feedback was. And I only ask, Brian, because I used to volunteer at the Portland International Film Festival, which was part of the Northwest Film Center umbrella. Yeah. And I can attest it didn't take much to make that crowd angry. And so I'm just curious, when PAMCUT came through, like, what was the reaction?
Yeah. Maybe a letter, maybe two.
Oh, just 2 letters? Okay.
Maybe an article. I don't know, Claudia. I'm wondering too, though, Claudia, if I have just become a little bit more thick-skinned and over time. And I feel that how do you create relevance? And relevance is a challenging thing to be. And it was worth experimenting. And I think it's heading in the right direction. So it wasn't extreme. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I think one thing I would say on that, I have found that the people, when they did comment, they were very respectful. It wasn't a antagonistic or personal complaint. It was more of a really thoughtful conversation around concept and future. And I respect all of the people who did give me some feedback. It was maybe more than 1 or 2, but it was a healthy conversation, which I'm just grateful for.
Yeah. Well, the programming, in my opinion, has been incredible for PAMCUT. I feel like every time I see the month of what they're doing, I'm always just like, well, any day I'd go, any day. Yeah. But it is so different from its predecessor. You spoke about sustainability, and I was interested when you said that, because I wondered, like, is that creative vision sustainable? Like, in your opinion, how are they doing?
Yeah, I think we're on the brink of being a post-startup. So I think the first 2 years was a startup, especially in a post-COVID era with movie theaters and what they need to be. But I also think that all of our institutions, including that area, but even the museum, we're fragile. These are fragile places.
Yeah.
And it's all relative. But, I think all of our cultural entities are fragile. We know the history of Portland, some of the organizations we've lost, the institutions we've lost. So there's a fragility to all of it.
All right, well, let's take a quick break here. And when we return, what this Rothko Pavilion is all about. In celebration of the grand opening of the new Mark Rothko Pavilion, the Portland Art Museum is offering free admission from November 20th through the 23rd. There's also live music, DJs, curator tours, art making, and so much more. The new pavilion adds 100,000 square feet of public walkways and gallery space, and this expansion highlights nearly 300 major new acquisitions. That includes works that are rarely or have never before been on view. It's almost like a whole new Portland Art Museum. So go check it out. From November 20th through the 23rd, it's absolutely free. Hopefully, I'll see you there. Paint Care has 3 simple rules to help you paint smarter. 1, buy only what you need. Determining the right amount of paint for your next project can be tricky, but tips like measuring your space and asking your local paint store for advice will help ensure you have enough for your project while minimizing waste. 2, use up what you have. Look around your house and find simple DIY projects where you can use up your paint. Or you could give away your leftover paint to friends, neighbors, or community groups who could benefit from it. 3, recycle the rest at convenient locations like your neighborhood paint store. Paint Care even offers direct pickups for households and businesses with more than 100 gallons of leftover paint. Learn more or find a paint drop-off site near you at paintcare.org/3simplerules. So the Rothko Pavilion opening is kind of a really high note to leave on. Could you just give us like a little bit of a preview of what to expect? I heard accessibility was a large focus of the project, but I believe this might be the first time that the whole collection is going to be under one metaphorical roof since the 30s or something.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Claudia. And I think it's about transparency and invitation. I think that's one thing you'll see. I think the other thing you'll experience and not just see is this feeling of being in Portland. One of the things we wanted with this project was not only to display the art, have greater accessibility, be more inclusive, be more inviting, but also experience the uniqueness of Oregon. So you will have views out on the park blocks, you'll have views out to the west, you'll have outdoor decks, you'll have indoor spaces, you'll have a lot of places to sit. So it's the whole package. And I've always wanted to create a museum that really embraced a sense of place. Mm-hmm. And we've done that through the collections and through our programs. But really, I think the final part of this puzzle has been the architecture. So that's what we're here to experience.
Yeah, I saw a mock-up of it, and it just looked like there was a lot of windows, a lot of glass. But it's safe to say that it's mostly a glass structure?
Yes, half the project is the new structure, so that's what you're referring to.
Yeah,
and it's all glass. There's also we went underground a little bit too to expand space there, and then the other half of the project is expanding into existing spaces and upgrading them, if not relocating certain functions. For example, the library has moved down to the first floor, and then we're expanding our gallery space in the Contemporary Center. So it's sort of half and half. All in, it's about 100,000 square feet of new and renovated space.
Gotcha. So it's not just the addition of this pavilion. I mean, the whole museum, it sounds like it got a facelift.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Well, the Rothko Pavilion was largely funded by private donations. I know the state of Oregon chipped in a couple million, maybe, and the city of Portland chipped in something like 250,000. And hearing about how the city and the county's budgets, the deficits, and they're trying to find money just to fill potholes, it doesn't surprise me they weren't able to chip in a little more, but we both know that it's going to take these big swings like the Rothko Pavilion to revitalize downtown. So how else could the city help big, expensive projects like this be successful if they're not always able to invest capital.
Sure. So good point. I mean, we ended up paying the city also for permit fees over $1 million. So
they made some money, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, they made some money. Yeah. So that's my candid response to that. And
gotcha.
But, I think you really framed the question well, because again, there's deficits, there's social issues, which is always tricky. How do you balance cultural, educational with, urgent social needs and health needs? So that's such an important, difficult question for our elected officials to answer. But I think if I were to say one thing that would have been more helpful is, I think there's a level of apathy in City Hall, in the county, towards these organizations, these institutions, whether it's, the Art Museum, whether it's Portland State, whether it's the Opera, the Symphony, Portland Center Stage, Literary Arts, Body Vox, Whitebird, these are Milagro Theater. These are really important entities in our cultural fabric here. And I feel there's a level of hesitation by our elected officials to even talk about it or to lead with it, or basically talk about them as vital to our city or essential. The word I like to use is essential. So I think one thing they can do is to start to incorporate in their messaging that this is part of who we are as Oregonians, as people of Portland. Our cultural entities help define, shape us, and lead us forward and provide hope. That would go a long way. And I think we're missing some of that. And I'm hopeful that this project in particular will help that and change the narrative around our cultural entities.
That's really interesting, Brian, because, I speak to city councilors. I've spoken to the mayor, and art has not come up once, I got to tell you.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. But I get it, though, because there is always a fear, or a concern, I should say, of sounding frivolous. And I do feel, because of capitalism, the commodification of art, there is a part when we're thinking of like, oh, we need to fix a social ill. Art is never, it feels like a privilege of sorts. And people look at institutions like these, and they think that they're loaded because this is a pastime, a hobby for those with means. So clearly the institutions also have, money. That's what I'm assuming. So what can the city do, I guess I'm asking, that doesn't involve raising taxes?
Well, it's a great question, Claudia. My first time I worked in a museum was in Newark, New Jersey, and I was an intern there. And Newark is a city that has gone through a lot of ups and downs, and it's still being challenged. And one of the things I would say to anyone in that city, or in our city in particular, there was no hesitation by the mayor, the governor of New Jersey, the mayor of Newark, to talk about the museum and our cultural entities as a bright light for hope. And it wasn't an either or with them. It was like, we need to deal with our economic issues, our social issues, but we also need to understand that our citizens, our children in particular, need a sense of hope and beauty. And that's what these organizations and these institutions are. These are institutions that have been around for 100+ years. And so I think it needs to be reframed, not about, an either or, but again, we need hope in our communities. And this whole idea of providing, especially our youth, with, beautiful things, or things to have conversations around, or things to understand other cultural entities. I mean, one of the things I talk about with a museum is there's no better place to develop empathy. You want to understand about Japan, you come to the museum. If you want to understand about, 18th century Renaissance Italy, you come to the museum. If you want to understand ancient Chinese history, you come to the museum, because you can see objects and images and expressions of creativity through those cultures. So that's, I think, a really important part. I think our elected officials and our leaders need to embrace, is that sense of empathy, development, and hope, and a beacon of light.
Right. I mean, you also touched on the fact that some of these institutions are so ingrained in the history of Oregon. I know, I didn't know this, but I looked it up, but the Portland Art Museum is one of the oldest art museums in the United States. It's like top 10.
That's right.
It's crazy old. To me, I'm just like, wow, that's so much history. And the fact that most people don't know that, I'm so glad you took the time to chat with me about the Rothko Pavilion, where you see the museum going. I for sure have felt your impact in our community. I love the Portland Art Museum. I love where it's going. I wanted to maybe help in your next endeavor. I have a suggestion for you.
Okay.
So I know you're probably already like thinking of like Dallas and like with the museum and branding. So immediate change from the Dallas Museum of Art to the Dallas Art Museum. Think about it.
Okay. Philadelphia just did that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's Pam too?
Well, great question. It's been the Philadelphia Museum of Art for 100 plus years. And then last month they changed it to the Philadelphia Museum of Art. I don't know what the acronym, it's a little confusing. At least online, it's been pretty controversial. I'm sure it'll be fine over time. But
my suggestion is just a much cooler acronym from, I don't know if you guys are saying DEMA or DMA.
DMA. They say the DMA.
The DMA.
Yeah.
It could be DAM.
It could be DAM. I will take that with me, Claudia. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, for free.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. No, but seriously, thank you so much for all of the years that you've put in making Portland better. You really did help make it better. And I just want to give you some glaze, as the children say. According to Shane Dixon Kavanaugh here from the Oregonian, your tenure boosted the Portland Art Museum's endowment by $40 million while eliminating millions of dollars in unfunded debt. And it did raise the national and international profile of the organization. And you did have this unrelentless focus on underrepresented artists and making the museum accessible to more people. And you definitely accomplished that. So thank you so much, Brian.
Well, I'm humbled by what you described there. Thank you, Claudia. I appreciate it. It's been a great honor of my life to be a part of this community and made great friends and to be a part of this organization, and the artists and the people who, are part of this institution has been very special. So thank you for taking the time and shining a light on it.
Yeah, DAM is very lucky to have you.
Okay, thank you.
That's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, share it with a friend or rate and leave us a good review. It really helps us out. And don't forget, you can support this show and get some great perks by becoming a CityCast neighbor. Just visit membership.citycast.fm for all the details. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.